So what is CentOS Stream? In the diagram that you see in front of you, essentially you will see that CentOS Stream is positioned in between Fedora on the left side and RHEL on the right-hand side. What it means in this particular instance is that, as you can also notice that the arrows are pointing between the two endpoints as well, and CentOS. The intention behind this diagram is to show how CentOS fits into the bigger picture. CentOS Stream essentially is the next to RHEL stable release for production use. CentOS Stream allows people to be able to collaborate, to be able to add functionality, feature set that subsequently can be found in the RHEL distribution. That's the objective of the CentOS Stream as a model. If I go back to the next slide, please. And how does all of this fit into the bigger picture, which is the bigger ecosystem of Red Hat Enterprise Linux, the evolutionary path to RHEL in this particular case? So in this diagram, this is a wonderful summary of all the different moving parts that explains the evolutionary path for RHEL. The extreme left-hand side is the Linux kernel itself, plus all the surrounding tools and applications and libraries and languages and what have you, and collating into coalesces into a Fedora Enterprise Linux, a Fedora Linux distribution, which then gets fed into the CentOS Stream and ultimately into RHEL. The two bigger circles on the right-hand side between CentOS Stream and Red Hat Enterprise Linux, this is the dual play that is headlining this particular webinar. The idea here is that a lot of the critical innovations that needs to be done early enough can be done in the CentOS Stream space by users, by contributors they are part of the bigger community of developers, which can then find its way into the RHEL enterprise supported versions, so that customers will know ahead of time what are the functionality feature sets that they wanted are now going to be available in RHEL. So there is a very smooth transition from a CentOS Stream to RHEL in this particular case. Next slide, please. Now, this is a timeline basis of explaining how the entire ecosystem of Red Hat Enterprise Linux works. On the left side, you see a blue line that is essentially the Fedora timeline. Over a period of time, Fedora Linux, every 6 months on the average, gets released a new version. So the latest new version is Fedora Linux 35, which came out sometime last month. If you go back to, in this diagram, as you can see, CentOS Stream 8. What is CentOS Stream 8? CentOS Stream 8 is based on Fedora Linux 28, which was also part of the technology that went into Red Hat Enterprise Linux and the subsequent dot releases of RHEL. So RHEL 8.2, 8.3 are all the innovations that have happened and the updates that happens on a regular basis. As you can see, there's a little star that says every 6 months. On the average, we try to hit that 6-month time frame to release the dot releases for Red Hat Enterprise Linux. In the case of Red Hat CentOS Stream, there isn't a dot release per se, but the intention here is that it's an ongoing process that allows you to develop and consume and contribute to the stream process itself. And if you go to the next line at further down, which is CentOS Stream 9, which is essentially talking about the next release of Red Hat Enterprise Linux. At some point in time, we will be releasing the next version of Red Hat Enterprise Linux, which will be comprising the technologies that have been evolving into Fedora Linux 34, 35, and the additional capabilities that was built into CentOS Stream 8. Next slide, please. So why are we doing this change? Part of the reason is we wanted to have a greater community participation of developers and end users in the CentOS ecosystem. The CentOS Stream allows contributors to provide functionality, feature sets, bug fixes, whatever it might be, that can then be incorporated into Red Hat Enterprise Linux minor releases, the dot releases. the intention here is that this model now gives a very strong opportunity and very critical opportunity for users of CentOS to be part of the ecosystem of Red Hat Enterprise Linux. It also helps to validate the solutions that you're going to be building that is going to run on top of Red Hat Enterprise Linux in a production environment, to make sure that you can test it against the CentOS stream. And when you know that it works, or if there are problems that you need to fix, you know it can be fixed, and you have the peace of mind that when you deploy this on a Red Hat Enterprise Linux environment, it is good to go. And finally, it is also to continue to grow the special interest groups. The SIGs is a model where CentOS has created over the years to be able to bring different people of different interests to find new use cases and special use cases that make sense to them, and to be able to make sure that CentOS Stream is able to support that and subsequently find its way into Red Hat Enterprise Linux. Next slide, please. So what are some of the functionalities and features? I'm not going to read out all the bullet points here, but I wanted to highlight the critical thing. It is the first one on the features, which is continuous delivery. The intention behind continuous delivery is that you know that when you are running CentOS Stream, for example, for your development systems or systems where you want to try things out, you know this is going to be the latest and greatest at that point in time. This also allows you to make sure that if there are issues that you come across, you're able to fix it then and there, which means that if it is a problem with CentOS Stream, we know that that problem is now not going to be replicated in RHEL. We know this is going to be nipping it in the bud, and then we move forward with the next version, which fixes it. And the entire move here is to ensure that we do have a growing and thriving community of RHEL users who can experiment, try, test, and innovate on CentOS, so that they then have a baseline environment that they can run across all environments for their production purposes. Next slide, please. So there's a last slide from my perspective. This is to leave you with the respective resources that you have for CentOS Stream. The public repository is on GitLab. The CentOS Stream downloads, you can get to the ISOs if you want to go down that path. That's perfectly fine. And a whole bunch of other related technologies and FAQs and tutorials and a whole bunch of other community-driven effort to enable the fuller understanding of what CentOS Stream is all about, so that you can be part of this bigger community of contributors that can subsequently find its way into Red Hat Enterprise Linux.